All right, you've got this great idea. You're not quite sure what to do. Watch this video because we're going to show you how to launch a product. Okay, everybody, Stephen Key here and at inventRightTV. And today we're going to talk about, hey, how do you launch a product? And you're at the right place. If you have an idea and you don't know what to do, thank you for watching this video. Okay, Jeff. Are you an inventor? Are you a designer? What do you do and what have you invented?
Well, by degree, I'm an industrial designer out of Georgia Tech. But, when you're a little kid, people always ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? I used to say inventor from the youngest age. And then I think a year later, they asked me again, and I said, no, I don't want to be an inventor anymore. And they said, why? Well, at the tender age of 5, my spirit had already been crushed by our public school system that I didn't want to be I thought everything had been invented already at that, the vacuum cleaner, the car, the airplane.
Well, you're in a special field of helping people, right? Especially with pain and issues. What are you doing now that helps? Because I know there's a lot of people, including myself, that have some issues with just getting old or just pain. So what have you invented and how are you helping people do that?
Yeah, I kind of fell into the medical industry out of college, and I wasn't on any kind of mission. It was just where I could get a job. And then every time I tried to get out of medical, I didn't like it. I really like medical. I kind of grew into it. You get to help people, and there's a lot of room for design and invention in medical, and a lot of need,
Okay.
and the pay's okay. So it all kind of worked out. So I worked for a handful of different orthopedic companies, some big, some small, some startups, and then eventually I decided I wanted to try to strike out on my own. And so that was the birth of Bullseye Brace. And here's a Bullseye Brace package. We're a 3-brace company. So that was our tennis elbow brace, or we call it our elbow strap. It's good for golfer's elbow or tennis elbow. Epicondylitis is the anatomical term. It's all about pain relief, without medications. This is our bread and butter. This is our wristband. So this is for ulnar-sided wrist pain or pain on the pinky side of your wrist, which is super common. It's known as the lower back pain of the wrist, but it's hard to treat because you need room to make a brace. There's not a lot of real estate available around your wrist, so it's difficult to treat. But we've been able to do it, and we've been very successful. And then we launched our 3rd brace. This is our CMC thumb brace for thumb arthritis, and you can see we make soft stuff.
Okay.
My design philosophy is if you're in pain, you want something soft on the problem, not something rigid, if possible.
Okay. So, Jeff, it's kind of interesting. Do you have pain yourself? I mean, is that why this is important to you?
I've been lucky. I played rugby for 30 years. I should be in the hospital right now. In fact, every time my spine gets, x-rayed, they want to put me in the hospital. But I've been very lucky. But I've been working with medical people and clinicians and different therapists and surgeons for many, many years.
All right.
And that's a powerful combination when you can get a design person or engineer type with a clinician. Very powerful.
Okay, Jeff, there's a lot of other braces out there. Why is yours different?
Right. Well, we already talked about it's all soft, and a lot of people like that. But one of the tricks to any kind of arm or wrist brace or thumb brace is you have to be able to put it on one-handed. And that sounds obvious, but some of them you need 3 hands to put on. So I'll just show you here with the thumb brace. I'm just going to open up the Velcro. And then you could slip your hand through here.
Okay.
And then this is called a speed lacer. I didn't invent it. It's used especially in ankle braces. But you could just wrap this around your wrist. So now you've got it on. And then this is the business strap. You just tighten that there. And now you've got thumb support. Nice. And everything is soft. And you can put it on and take it off with one hand.
Very nice. Okay, so let's talk about it. You're designing in this industry. You love the medical part of it. How do you go about just starting a business one day? I mean, did you just wake up and go, I want to do this myself?
No, it actually happened over a long period of time. I had worked on TFCC braces in the past when I was in my corporate days. Those projects kind of got abandoned. But I every few years, maybe I'd be between jobs, and I had this prototype. I was messing around with it. I kept playing with it and evolving it, and I'd pick it up and redo it, and then I'd put it on the shelf and go back to work for somebody else for a while. And then finally, I had a hand therapist buddy of mine who I sent this to, and he went crazy. He's like, "We need that. You got to make it. You got to start this. You got to launch this thing." And I said, "Okay, how many are you going to sell?" And he goes, "I don't know." He's not a businessman. But so that's kind of how it started. It took a long period of time, but then took a chance, got a little bit of funding, and launched it.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit of funding here. Okay, because a lot of people are like, I'm just going to start this up and sell a few on Amazon and see how it goes. It's not quite like that, is it?
No, and I fight to have low overhead. I work out of my house. I don't have a lot of employees. I use contractors wherever possible. It's murder. Everything's stacked against you. I don't want to discourage anybody. Like I was discouraged when I was a little kid because, there's so many successful businesses and you get to help people and there's room for more stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of hands out there. We got to pay the FDA. We have to have insurance. We have to, it's just, everybody's got their hands out. Amazon gets their cut.
Okay.
So it's a challenge to survive.
How do you budget for that? I mean, did you have a business plan or did you know someone that's done this before? And how did you get the money?
Yeah, that's a great question because we didn't think we needed tons of money,
Okay.
not the level of, say, an angel investor or that kind of thing. But it was more of a friends and family level.
Okay.
But friends and family to me is a little scary because, you don't want to, what happens when it fails? Most of these
Right.
things fail. Then you've taken, I don't know, it didn't bother Henry Ford. He did it 3 or 4 times. But yeah, so I was visiting a friend of mine and he said, "Hey, Jeff, the Braves all-star first baseman has a problem with his wrist. And I bet if anybody can help him, it's you." And I said, "Well, I think I have the prototype in my truck if you'd like to see it." So he volunteered to fund my venture.
Oh,
And I didn't
yeah.
have to ask anybody. That was kind of my thing. I didn't want to ask,
Okay.
but and it wasn't a ton of money. So he
Nice.
took a chance on me and he's very happy now.
Oh, very good. Okay, so let's talk about going from an idea, from a prototype to actually having real product. How'd you find someone to make that for you? Is it here in the States or do you go overseas? How'd you do that?
Yeah, well, I do a lot of my own prototyping, and I'm a CAD guy, so I try to get everything as far along as I can.
Okay.
Functional prototypes that you can test on folks and get feedback from therapists. But I had been in a startup back in the early 2000s called Wellgate, and this was Wellgate's claim to fame was the Wellgate wrist brace that I designed, and this became the best-selling wrist brace in America. So I connected with a whole bunch of vendors that could do a lot of cut and sew. Most of our cut and sew industry went over to Asia in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
So that's where all the fabrics are made, and that's where they do a lot of the sewing. So that's kind of where we went. And my stuff is made in Taiwan. It's not
Okay.
made in China. And I already knew a factory that could do it. And it's a good question because the silicone part, the sewing, anybody in Asia can do that. But the silicone part was tricky.
Okay.
So I had to go to Taiwan where they're a little bit more sophisticated, a
Okay.
little more cost, but you got to get it right, and they could
So,
make it.
well, who made the first prototypes? Do you have a sewing machine? Did you sew it
Oh,
yourself?
yes, I have an industrial sewing machine in my living room. Uh, the funny part is I don't know how to sew. I can hand sew. I taught myself on YouTube, but I have a friend and she's a
Okay.
wizard, and so she's my seamstress, and I hire her as needed. She does a great job. Her name's Millie, and we've been working together for years at various
Okay.
companies.
Okay, you talked a little bit about sewing prototypes, but it's more than just sewing. What else have you, can you show me some example of a prototype?
Yeah, I mean, sewing is when the Industrial Revolution started, it was in the garment industry, right? So sewing's been around forever. So it's really hard to make something that's sewn look kind of high tech and cool. So I like to, add my silicone component, and that's a molded part. So I'll make it, it's about as simple as it can get, a little donut. But this is, well, I should be showing you this one. This is the
Okay.
tennis elbow. It's a little bit more sophisticated of a shape. So I would make that shape in my CAD system. I use SolidWorks. And then here I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
I've 3D printed a mold, and that's the mold that makes this shape.
Looks nice.
So I use smooth-on silicones. They're really great, and you don't have to buy a 50-gallon drum of part A and a 50-gallon drum of part B to make your silicone parts. You can buy little pint kits, and they're very also they have good technical help. This is a mold that was for the wristband. That's a little more old-fashioned. You can see I have these shapes in the corner to keep it registered, so it goes together perfectly every time. This is an epoxy mold. This is the way we used to do it in the old days, where we'd make a pattern of the part, and then we cast a mold. This is a 3D printed mold. Today, it's a little bit easier. But there's pluses and minuses to both. But yeah, we make our own stuff, and it helps if you can do your own prototyping.
Nice. Okay, you found this manufacturer over in Taiwan. You probably they sent a sample to you. It probably looked good. But when you had to place an order, how many did you have to place for that minimum quantity?
Right. In this case, the minimum order quantity for me was pretty high. It was 5,000 pieces. And that's spread over the various sizes. So it's not 5,000 per SKU. It's per parent SKU. But I've worked with on other projects where the MOQ was as low as 500 pieces, which is really low.
5,000, that's quite a bit. That's a
commitment.
That is a commitment.
You better get it right.
Did they do the box too? I mean, was it the whole package? Did they do the box, everything, and just ship it to you?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. In the past, with Wellgate, we bulk shipped everything over, and then my partner was really concerned about the quality of the packaging because this was a retail product.
Okay.
So she wanted the printing to be done in the U.S. So we had a pick and pack outfit that would take the bulk packed braces and put them in the box and package them. In this case, my guy is turnkey. He did everything. So this packaging was printed overseas as well. Nice. And it comes to me ready to go. And it's an off-the-shelf brace. So a lot of braces are custom braces, or they fabricate them from raw materials. These are off-the-shelf braces.
Nice. So I want to talk a little bit about the design of your package. It looks really good. Did you design it, or do you have somebody else do that?
Yeah, generally I kind of take a shot at everything because I kind of know what I want. But I have a graphic designer that I use, and then I throw her all my dumb ideas, and she cleans it all up and maybe sends me a few different ideas, and then we go back and forth. It's just packaging is like product design. It can be iterative, and I like to iterate. How
important is it to design it for the shelf? Are you selling them at retail, or is it just online?
Well, Amazon has blurred the lines between retail and online, but no, we're not in any bricks and mortar places. It's tough because have you seen the shelves in the drugstore lately? I mean, they're packed, and they don't like a lot of sizes. And I come from the prescription world where usually it's not in retail, so you can have as many sizes as you want. Okay. So it's just a little bit tricky. But off the shelf, for my main customers are hand therapists, and they're sort of underserved by these kind of braces. They're used to making their own braces from scratch. So this is kind of a trend that's evolving in the hand therapy world.
Okay, great. All right, you got a great website. We're going to show that, of course. So how do you get people to find you, Jeff, to purchase it? Do you do trade shows, or do you just knock on doors? How do you do that?
That's really the million-dollar question. So in medical, things are a little bit old-fashioned. We still do conferences or trade shows. And so the hand therapy world, I exhibit at about 4 or 5 hand therapy conferences a year. There's a lot of little regional ones. We try to go to the big ones because we can't afford to go to every one. So that's kind of old-fashioned marketing. And it works in medical because they're generally understaffed and overworked. So if I have a question for a hand therapist or occupational therapist, I can't get them. I mean, they don't want to talk to me on the weekend, and so at the conference they come by the booth, and that's when we get time with them, and then that's how we get the word out. Because every hand therapist that I sell on a Bullseye Brace, they're going to see dozens of patients, which are the end users.
So let's talk about protection. Everybody's worried that their ideas are going to be stolen. So what do you think about IP? Is it important to you?
Yes, but like we were talking about earlier, it's a huge cost. Patent attorneys are more expensive than regular attorneys. So, and I've worked with a lot of them, and I thought I knew a lot about patents until I met Kevin Prince, who's I consider him Bullseye's secret weapon. He's amazing. He is better than any patent attorney I've worked with. I'm just going to say that. Sorry, guys. But he's 1/10 the price, which
Yeah.
Kevin, I hope he's not listening to that, but he knows. He does a great job, and it doesn't kill you. So he's wonderful.
How'd you find him? Because you live on the East Coast and he's on the West Coast. Everybody thinks you have to find someone to help you in your same town, but he lives far away. So how do you do that?
I wish you would have asked me that question earlier, because I can't really remember if I just found him randomly or somebody recommended him to me, because he's got a very unique operation. I think there's going to be more businesses like QuickPatents coming out. And because people are realizing, hey, you don't really need a patent attorney. You can use a patent agent as long as they're knowledgeable. And he's an inventor, and his father's an inventor. So he can talk on any level about any topic. Some of this medical stuff is kind of, it's nichey, but he gets it. He's really good.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so how long have you been doing this for?
I've been working on orthopedic brace design since 1994. I started in the medical device industry after I graduated from school, and I don't want to tell you, 1988.
Okay. So how does it feel when you know that someone's pain-free or using your product and it works for them? How do you feel about that?
That's the most gratifying thing. I mean, of course, we are a capitalist country. Everybody needs to eat and make money and pay rent. Sure. But yeah, when I get compliments, we go to the conferences, we get these therapists come by the booth. They 9 times out of 10, they're like, we don't like the competitor. We love you. Even though we're a distant second, they came out first. But yeah, we get a lot of compliments. Nice. We try to pay attention to our design, and I think industrial design can really help in the medical industry, and it's been slow to get together.
So how can people find you? What's your website? Is it
bullseyebrace.com? Yeah.
Okay, we'll put all that information down below. Everyone, if you're in any pain, if you want a good product, check this out. I did. The website's wonderful. You got great testimonials. Jeff, thank you for coming on inventRightTV. If there was one thing you're going to leave, some advice you're going to give some person that has an idea, what's the one thing you would tell them?
Be patient. Start early. Don't quit. Don't get discouraged. Have a thick skin. Don't fall in love with your own design. Realize you probably are going to have to iterate and tweak it and improve it. If your ego gets in the way, it's just going to get in the way.
That's good. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for coming on inventRightTV. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe down below, and we'll see you next time. Jeff, thank you very much for coming on.
All right. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure being on your show.
Okay, you've got a great product idea and you're not quite sure what to do. Or maybe you've got inventory in your garage because you were selling your product on Amazon and you don't want to continue doing it, but you want someone to help you license your idea to a company to bring it to market for you. We have a new program that's called Gateway, where we do all the work for you. We'll find the right companies and the right people to make sure your product is pitched correctly to get the licensing deal. This new program is called Gateway. If you're interested, please check it out.